The room had learned Irene's silence before Noah did. It was there in the way the air settled after the door closed, in the faint citrus trace that lingered longer than it should have, in the subtle shift of sound when Irene crossed the hardwood without shoes. Noah stood at the kitchen counter with her palms pressed flat against the cool surface, breathing slowly as if the moment might pass if she stayed still enough. She told herself it was nothing, just a roommate coming home, just another evening folding into night. But something in her chest had already tilted, a quiet internal lean she hadn't approved. The overhead light flickered once before stabilizing. Outside, a siren moved through the city like a thought that refused to finish. Irene placed her keys in the bowl by the door with care, metal barely touching ceramic, as if she knew loudness would break something fragile already forming. Noah didn't turn right away. She counted the seconds it took Irene to reach the sink, the soft rush of water, the scent of soap blooming into the space between them. She hated how aware she was of Irene's presence. Hated how the awareness felt like relief. "Hey," Irene said, not looking up. Her voice held warmth without insistence, the kind that made space instead of filling it. "Hey," Noah replied too quickly. She adjusted her posture, squared her shoulders, reminded herself she was 23 and solid and knew who she was. She was the kind of person who didn't get thrown off balance by a roommate's quiet or a smell or the way someone occupied a room like they belonged there. Irene dried her hands slowly, the towel brushing her fingers in an unhurried rhythm. When she finally turned, her eyes met Noah's for a half-second too long. Not a stare. Just a moment of shared noticing. Noah's breath snagged and then corrected itself, a tiny reset she hoped went unnoticed. They moved around each other with an ease that felt practiced even though it wasn't. Irene opened the fridge, scanning shelves, while Noah poured herself a glass of water she didn't need. The night pressed closer, windows reflecting their shapes back at them. Two figures parallel, close enough that the reflection blurred their edges. "Long day?" Irene asked. Noah nodded. "Yeah. You?" Irene shrugged, a small lift of one shoulder. "Same." She paused. "Want tea?" The question felt like an offering more than a habit. Noah watched Irene reach for the kettle, the familiar movements of someone already learning the geography of a shared space. The hum of electricity filled the silence, low and intimate. Before we go deeper into this, if stories like this resonate with you, WLW tension, longing and quiet fire, feel free to subscribe, hit like and tell me where you're watching from. They sat at the small table by the window, knees angled toward each other without either of them acknowledging it. Steam rose from their mugs, carrying chamomile and something faintly floral. Irene cradled her cup with both hands, thumbs resting at the rim. Noah noticed the tiny scar near Irene's knuckle, pale and old, and wondered about its origin before stopping herself. Curiosity felt dangerous here, like stepping onto a floor that might not hold. The city outside softened into a wash of amber lights. Somewhere below, laughter drifted upward and dissolved. Inside, the clock ticked louder than it should have. "I like it here," Irene said suddenly, eyes on the window. "It's calm." Noah swallowed. "Yeah. Me too." She wanted to ask what Irene meant by calm. Wanted to know if Irene felt the same subtle hum under the quiet, the sense that something unnamed was waiting for permission. Instead, she lifted her mug, burned her tongue slightly and welcomed the sting. Pain was simple. It asked for nothing beyond attention. They talked in fragments, about grocery lists, a movie Irene wanted to watch, a book Noah couldn't finish because it felt too close to something she wasn't ready to examine. Each confession landed softly, like a pebble dropped into water, sending rings outward that brushed against something tender. At some point, Irene laughed, head tipping back, throat exposed for a brief, unguarded second. The sound loosened something in Noah's chest. She found herself smiling without deciding to, warmth spreading in a way that had nothing to do with tea. Later they moved to the couch, the cushions sinking under shared weight. The lamp cast a low, golden pool of light, leaving corners in shadow. Irene tucked one leg beneath her, turning slightly toward Noah. The fabric of her sweater caught the light, soft and worn, and Noah's fingers twitched with the urge to touch, to test the texture, to confirm the reality of the moment. Instead, she clasped her hands together and focused on breathing. "I got a tattoo today," Noah said, the words surprising even her. She hadn't planned to share that yet. Irene's eyes shifted immediately, attention sharpening. "Yeah. Noah nodded, heart beating faster. It's small. On my wrist. Without asking, Irene leaned closer. Not touching. Just close enough that Noah could feel the heat of her body, the faint brush of air displaced by her movement. Irene's gaze traced the inside of Noah's wrist where the skin was still faintly pink, the ink dark and new. Can I? Irene asked quietly, fingers hovering. Noah hesitated for a fraction of a second that felt longer than it was. Then she nodded. Irene's fingers closed gently around Noah's wrist, thumb resting near the tattoo, careful to avoid pressure. The contact sent a slow, deliberate pulse through Noah's arm, down her spine, settling low in her stomach. The world narrowed to that point of touch, to the way Irene's grip was steady but tentative, as if she understood the weight of what she was doing. What does it mean? Irene asked. Noah tried to laugh, the sound brittle. It's stupid. It doesn't look stupid, Irene said, still not looking up. Her thumb brushed lightly along the edge of the ink, a question more than a stroke. Noah's breath came shallow. It's just a reminder. To trust myself. The words hung between them, heavier than she'd intended. Irene lifted her gaze then, eyes dark and searching. For a moment, neither of them moved. The clock ticked. A car passed outside. The apartment seemed to hold its breath. Irene released Noah's wrist slowly, as if letting go required effort. The absence of her touch felt abrupt, like a door closing softly but firmly. That's not stupid, Irene said. Her voice carried something guarded now, a familiar caution slipping back into place. That's brave. Noah shook her head, a reflexive denial. I don't know about that. She leaned back, creating space, grateful and disappointed all at once. Her body buzzed with a response she didn't have language for yet, something that refused to be minimized or explained away. She told herself it was the novelty of living with someone new, the intimacy of shared evenings. She told herself it would settle. But when her phone buzzed on the table, the name lighting up the screen pulled her sharply out of the moment. Her ex. The past offering its familiar shape, its promise of stability and clarity. Noah's stomach tightened. Irene noticed. Of course she did. Her gaze flicked to the phone and back to Noah's face, expression carefully neutral. You don't have to answer, she said. Noah picked up the phone anyway, silencing it. It's complicated. Irene nodded, a small, understanding movement that somehow hurt more than judgment would have. Most things are. They sat in the aftermath of that interruption, the air subtly changed. Noah felt the internal shift. Something fracturing, something opening. She didn't yet know which. Later, lying awake in her room, the apartment quiet except for the distant murmur of the city, Noah stared at the ceiling and replayed the evening in fragments. The scent of citrus. The warmth of a hand around her wrist. The way her body had answered a question her mind hadn't asked yet. She turned onto her side, facing the wall they shared. Somewhere beyond it, Irene breathed, a steady, grounding sound. Noah closed her eyes, telling herself tomorrow would be simpler. It already wasn't. Morning arrived quietly, as if aware of how easily sound might disrupt what had begun to settle between them. Noah woke to the smell of coffee before she registered the light. It drifted down the hallway, warm and grounding, threading through her half-sleep with an intimacy that felt earned rather than intrusive. She lay still for a moment, listening. The apartment held the soft clink of ceramic, the low hiss of steam, Irene humming, barely audible, tuneless, comfortable in its own existence. By the time Noah reached the kitchen, Irene was leaning against the counter in an oversized t-shirt, hair loosely twisted at the nape of her neck. She looked unguarded in the morning light, as if the night had never interrupted her. You're up early, Noah said. Irene smiled. Couldn't sleep. The admission landed gently, without weight. Noah poured herself coffee, their hands brushing briefly as Irene passed the mug. The contact was small, accidental, but it lingered. Both of them aware of it, neither acknowledging it. They stood side by side, watching the city wake up through the window, steam curling between them like something alive. They talked easily that morning. About nothing important. About how the elevator in their building always stalled on the 5th floor. About the neighbor who sang badly but confidently. About a podcast Irene had fallen asleep to halfway through an episode. The conversation flowed without effort, punctuated by laughter that arrived unexpectedly and stayed a second longer than necessary. At one point, Irene laughed so hard she had to grip the counter, shoulders shaking. Noah watched her, warmth spreading through her chest, surprised by how much she liked being the cause of that sound. It felt like a quiet victory, one she hadn't known she wanted. Later they cleaned the apartment together. It was an unspoken decision. Noah started wiping the table, Irene grabbed the vacuum, and suddenly they were moving around each other, synchronized without discussion. Their paths crossed in the narrow hallway, one stepping aside, the other brushing past, fabric grazing skin. Each near collision carried a subtle charge, a mutual awareness that settled into the space between breaths. "Sorry," Irene murmured once, hand resting briefly on Noah's arm to steady herself. "It's fine," Noah replied, though her pulse told a different story. They ended up sitting on the floor, backs against the couch, sorting through a box of things left behind by the previous tenant. Old mail, a chipped mug, a stack of mismatched coasters. Irene picked one up, turning it over in her hands. "This place has layers," she said. "Like it remembers people." Noah glanced at her. "Does that bother you?" Irene shook her head. "No. I kind of like it. Makes it feel less temporary." The word settled heavily between them. Less temporary. Noah wondered what Irene thought of her, of them, of this shared space that was already beginning to feel like more than an arrangement. They ordered takeout that night, spreading containers across the coffee table. The movie they chose played mostly unnoticed, dialogue blending into background noise as they talked over it, commenting on scenes, sharing reactions. Irene sat close enough that Noah could feel the warmth of her thigh, the subtle shift when she laughed or leaned forward. At some point, Irene reached across Noah to grab the remote. Her arm brushed Noah's chest, light and fleeting. Noah's breath caught. Irene froze for half a second, eyes flicking to Noah's face. "Sorry," she said softly. "No," Noah replied too quickly again. "It's okay." They held each other's gaze for a moment that felt suspended. Irene's eyes searched, not asking, not demanding, just open. Noah felt the familiar urge to retreat, to make a joke, to dissolve the moment before it could solidify into something real. Glad she stayed still. The movie continued. Neither of them moved away. Later, as they washed dishes together, the water running hot over their hands, Noah's phone buzzed again on the counter. She ignored it at first, focusing on the rhythm of rinsing and stacking. But the buzzing came again, insistent. Irene glanced at the phone, then back to Noah. She didn't comment, didn't ask. The restraint was its own kind of kindness. "It's him," Noah said finally, surprising herself with the honesty. "Why X?" Irene nodded once. "Do you want to talk about it?" Noah hesitated. "Not really." "That's okay," Irene said. "You don't owe me anything." The words were gentle, but they carried weight. Noah felt the subtle complication settle in. The presence of a past that hadn't fully released her. The comfort of something known pressing against the possibility of something new. That night they sat on the couch again, closer than before. Irene's knee pressed lightly against Noah's, their shoulders touching. The contact felt deliberate now, chosen. Noah could feel Irene's breathing, steady and slow. She became acutely aware of her own, too shallow, then forced deeper. "I like living with you," Irene said quietly, eyes on the screen. Noah's heart stuttered. "Me too." Silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable but charged. Noah turned slightly, just enough to face Irene. Their noses were close now, breaths mingling. Irene's gaze dropped briefly to Noah's mouth, then lifted again as if checking herself. The almost kiss lived in that space. Unspoken, suspended. Noah felt it like a held note, vibrating just beneath the surface. Her body leaned forward instinctively, then stopped. The memory of her ex's message, of promises made and broken, flickered through her mind. Irene noticed the hesitation. She pulled back a fraction, not in rejection but in respect. "We don't have to rush," she said softly. Noah nodded, gratitude and regret twisting together. "Thank you." They stayed like that, close but not touching, letting the moment settle into something quieter, something patient. The promise lingered, not of certainty but of possibility. When Noah finally went to bed, the echo of that almost kiss followed her down the hallway. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling again, heart full and restless. Tomorrow waited, heavy with what they hadn't done yet. The power went out just after sunset. It wasn't dramatic. No thunder, no wind, just a soft click and a sudden absence that rippled through the apartment. The lamp went dark. The hum of the refrigerator stopped mid-breath. Silence rushed in, thick and immediate. Noah froze on the couch, remote still in her hand. "Did you?" "Yeah," Irene said from the kitchen. "It's out." They waited a beat as if the lights might correct themselves. They didn't. Outside, the city dimmed unevenly, some buildings still glowing, others falling quiet. The apartment took on a different shape without electricity. Edges softened, shadows lengthened. Irene lit a candle from the drawer by the stove, the flame flaring briefly before settling into a steady glow. The scent of wax warmed the air. "This building," Noah muttered. "Of course." Irene smiled faintly. "At least it's not cold." She brought the candle into the living room and set it on the coffee table. The light carved their faces into something softer, more intimate. Noah felt suddenly aware of the closeness, of how little space separated them on the couch. "We should probably unplug stuff," Noah said, though she didn't move. "Probably," Irene agreed. She didn't move either. They sat there, the candle flickering between them, silence stretching and reshaping itself. Noah could hear Irene's breathing now, subtle and even. Each inhale felt like a shared event, each exhale a quiet release. "I used to like blackouts," Irene said after a moment. "When I was younger." Noah turned slightly toward her. "Why?" "They made everything slow down," Irene replied. "Like the world had no choice but to pause." The words resonated deeper than they should have. Noah nodded. "I could use that." Another pause. Irene's knee brushed Noah's again, this time deliberately. She didn't pull away. Neither did Noah. The apartment grew warmer as they sat there, bodies adjusting to proximity. Noah became acutely aware of textures. The fabric of the couch beneath her palms, the soft cotton of Irene's sleeve against her arm, the faint citrus trace still clinging to her skin. It all layered together, overwhelming and grounding at once. Irene shifted closer, just enough that their shoulders touched fully now. The contact sent a slow warmth through Noah's chest. She leaned in slightly, testing. Irene mirrored the movement, eyes soft, questioning without pressure. "Is this okay?" Irene asked quietly. Noah swallowed. "Yeah." The word came easily, truthfully. They stayed like that, letting the warmth build, neither rushing. Noah's thoughts scattered, replaced by sensation, shared heat, the subtle tremor in Irene's breath, the way the candlelight danced across her features. She noticed the curve of Irene's mouth, the way her lips parted slightly as if holding something back. "Approach." Irene lifted her hand, hesitated, then rested it lightly on Noah's knee. The touch was tentative, asking rather than taking. Noah's muscles tightened briefly, then softened. She covered Irene's hand with her own, fingers warm and steady. Hesitation. They held each other's gaze, the moment stretching thin. Noah felt the familiar urge to retreat, to joke, to break the tension before it demanded something real. But Irene didn't move away. She stayed, present and patient, letting Noah decide the pace. Warmth. Noah leaned closer, their foreheads nearly touching. She could feel Irene's breath on her cheek now, warm and faintly sweet. The space between them felt charged, alive with possibility. Restraint. They paused there, suspended. Irene's eyes searched Noah's face one last time, silent, question clear. Noah nodded, barely perceptible but enough. "Pull again." The kiss was soft, almost tentative. More breath than pressure. Irene's lips brushed Noah's, then lingered, warm and careful. Noah responded instinctively, her hand tightening slightly over Irene's, her breath catching as the contact deepened just enough to register as real. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't consuming. It was a meeting. 2 points finally touching after circling for too long. Irene pulled back first, just a fraction, resting her forehead against Noah's. They stayed like that, eyes closed, breathing synced, the candle flame flickering wildly as if reacting to the shift in the room. Noah felt everything at once: joy, fear, relief, the quiet thrill of recognition. Her heart raced, then steadied, then raced again. He wanted to say something. Anything. But words felt inadequate, intrusive. Irene's thumb brushed gently over the back of Noah's hand, grounding her. "We can stop," she murmured. "Or we can not. Whatever you need." The clarity of consent, the space it created, made Noah's chest ache. "I don't want to stop," she admitted. "I'm just scared." Irene nodded, understanding settling into her expression. "Me too." They sat back slowly, creating space without breaking the connection. The candle burned lower, wax pooling at the base. Outside, the city hummed unevenly, power flickering back on in distant buildings. Then Noah's phone buzzed, sharp, intrusive, slicing through the stillness. She didn't have to look to know who it was. The screen lit up between them, casting a harsh glow across their faces. Her ex's name stared back at her, insistent, undeniable. Irene noticed immediately. She didn't ask. She simply withdrew her hand. The absence felt more sharply now than the touch had moments before. She stood, stepping back as if to give Noah room to breathe, to choose. "I should check the breakers," Irene said quietly. "See if it's just us." She moved away, her footsteps soft on the floor, leaving Noah alone on the couch with the candle, the phone, and the weight of what had just shifted. Noah stared at the screen, heart pounding. The kiss lingered on her lips, warm and undeniable. So did the past, pressing in with familiar gravity. The power flickered back on suddenly, lights flaring to life without warning. The room returned to its usual shape, shadows retreating, intimacy exposed under brightness. Nothing felt the same. Morning felt louder than it should have. The light came in uninvited, sharp and ordinary, flattening the memory of candlelight into something that almost felt imagined. Noah lay awake long before her alarm, staring at the ceiling, the echo of the kiss replaying with an insistence that made her chest tighten. It hadn't faded overnight. If anything, it had sharpened, cleaner, more undeniable. From the other room she heard movement. A cupboard opening. Water running. Irene, awake and existing just a wall away. Noah stayed still. By the time she finally stepped into the kitchen, Irene was already dressed, hair pulled back neatly, posture contained in a way Noah hadn't seen before. The citrus soap was there, but muted, restrained. A barrier. "Morning," Irene said, voice warm but careful. "Morning," Noah replied, mirroring the tone without meaning to. They stood on opposite sides of the counter now, a deliberate distance that felt louder than proximity ever had. The coffee brewed in silence, the machine sputtering and hissing, filling the space so neither of them had to. Noah watched Irene's hands, steady, purposeful, as she rinsed her mug. The memory of those same hands resting on Noah's knee, fingers tentative and warm, pressed insistently against her thoughts. "I didn't sleep much," Irene said finally, eyes still on the sink. Noah nodded. "Me neither." A pause followed, heavy with things neither of them named. They moved through the day like that, parallel, polite, slightly misaligned. They shared the space without sharing the air. When their paths crossed in the hallway, both adjusted instinctively, shoulders angling away, eyes dropping. The ease of the past days was replaced by something fragile and watchful. That evening Noah's phone buzzed again. This time she answered. She sat on the edge of her bed, the door half closed, voice low. Her ex's words spilled out, familiar and practiced. Checking in, concern wrapped in nostalgia, stability offered like a solution. Noah responded automatically at first, nodding even though he couldn't see her, murmuring agreement without commitment. From the living room, she could hear Irene turning pages of a book, the soft rustle of paper punctuating the conversation like punctuation. "I've been thinking about us," her ex said. "About giving it another try. Doing things right this time." Noah closed her eyes. When she hung up, she stayed seated, phone resting loosely in her hand. The room felt smaller now, walls pressing in. She thought of Irene's question the night before, "Is this okay?" And how easily she had answered. How hard this felt in comparison. She found Irene on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, book forgotten in her lap. The lamp cast the same warm glow it always had, but tonight it felt different, less forgiving. "We should talk," Noah said. Irene looked up slowly, expression unreadable. "Yeah." Noah sat across from her, not beside her. The space between them felt intentional, protective. Her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. "My ex called," Noah began. "He wants to try again." Irene absorbed the words without flinching. She nodded once. "Okay." The simplicity of the response unsettled Noah. "Okay. I mean," Irene said carefully, "you don't owe me an explanation. Or a reaction." "No, Noah stopped, fingers curling into her palm. "I don't know what I want. Thought I did. I always thought I did." Irene's gaze softened, but she didn't move closer. "Sometimes knowing feels like losing something," she said quietly. The words landed hard. Noah swallowed. What do you mean? Irene hesitated, then exhaled slowly. Every time I let myself want something, really want it, it costs me. I start imagining outcomes, futures. And when they don't happen, she trailed off, lips pressing together. I'm not good at halfway. Noah's chest tightened. I don't want to hurt you. I know, Irene said. That's kind of the problem. Silence stretched between them, thick and layered. The city hummed outside, distant and indifferent. Noah felt the urge to reach out to bridge the gap, but she stayed still, hands clasped together like an anchor. I'm scared, Noah admitted finally. Of choosing wrong. Of waking up one day and realizing I misunderstood myself. Irene met her eyes then, something raw flickering beneath the calm. And I'm scared of being someone's question mark. The honesty hung between them, unshielded. Noah felt tears sting unexpectedly, the emotion rising without permission. He blinked them back, breath uneven. I don't want to lose this, she said softly. Whatever this is. Irene looked down, fingers tightening around the edge of the book. Neither do I. But I also can't pretend it doesn't matter. They sat there, suspended in the space between desire and restraint. The citrus scent lingered faintly in the air, a reminder of something warmer, closer. The couch where they had nearly kissed felt like a quiet witness. Later that night, Noah stood in the doorway of her room, watching Irene move through the kitchen. Irene caught her gaze, paused. Good night, Irene said. Good night, Noah replied. Irene hesitated as if considering something, then turned away, retreating down the hallway. Her door closed softly, not fully, a sliver of light remaining. Noah pulled out her phone, opened a message to her ex. Her thumbs hovered over the screen. She typed, erased, typed again. The words felt heavy, insufficient. From the other room, the faint sound of Irene's movement reminded her that time was passing, choices forming whether she made them or not. Noah deleted the message, set the phone down and leaned her forehead against the doorframe, caught between rooms, between selves. Nothing had been decided. Not yet. The hallway light stayed on all night. Noah noticed it sometime before dawn, the pale strip slipping under her door, cutting the darkness into something unfinished. She lay awake listening to the apartment breathe, pipes ticking, a car passing, the faintest movement from Irene's room. Each sound felt amplified, as if the space itself were waiting for a decision she hadn't yet spoken aloud. When morning came, it came gently. Overcast light filtered through the windows, softening edges instead of sharpening them. Noah stood in the kitchen with her hands wrapped around a mug she'd reheated twice without drinking. The coffee smelled bitter now, overcooked. He welcomed it. Some sensations were easier when they were blunt. Irene entered quietly, hair loose, eyes tired but clear. She paused when she saw Noah, the way someone does when they sense a shift in gravity. Hey, Irene said. Hey. They stood there, neither moving closer, neither stepping away. The distance between them felt intentional now, chosen rather than accidental. Noah inhaled slowly. I didn't answer him. Irene's expression flickered, surprise then caution. Okay. I couldn't, Noah continued, voice unsteady but deliberate. Every time I tried to write something that sounded reasonable, it felt like I was lying. Not to him. To myself. Irene leaned back against the counter, arms crossing loosely, a protective instinct surfacing. You don't have to explain. I know, Noah said. But I want to. The words settled into the space like a door opening. I've spent so long choosing what made sense, Noah went on. What looked stable. What didn't ask too much of me. And then you walked in with your stupid citrus soap and your quiet, and suddenly my body started answering questions my mind had been avoiding. Irene let out a breath that was almost a laugh, but her eyes stayed serious. That sounds terrifying. It is, Noah admitted. But it's also the first thing in a long time that hasn't felt like a compromise. Silence followed, not empty but full. Irene studied Noah's face as if searching for cracks, for hesitation. What she found instead made her shoulders drop slightly, tension easing. I need to say something too, Irene said softly. And I need you to know you don't have to catch me if I fall. Noah nodded. Okay. I'm careful, Irene said. Not because I don't feel deeply. Because I do. Wanting someone has cost me before. I learned how to survive by staying just a little out of reach. She uncrossed her arms, hands resting at her sides now, open. But last night, every time I almost pulled away, it felt worse than staying. Noah stepped closer, slow enough to give Irene space to retreat if she needed to. He didn't. Their closeness felt different now, less electric, more grounded. The warmth between them wasn't rushing anywhere. It was settling. I don't know what this becomes, Noah said. But I know I don't want to keep pretending it's nothing. Irene's eyes softened. Neither do I. They stood there for a long moment, the kitchen wrapped in muted light, the city outside holding its breath. Noah reached out, fingers hovering near Irene's wrist, the same place where everything had first slowed down. She paused. Irene met her gaze and nodded once, a clear, steady yes. Noah's fingers closed gently, warmth blooming at the point of contact. Irene exhaled, the sound barely audible, and stepped closer until there was no space left to measure. Their kiss this time was unhurried, familiar without being practiced. Breath met breath, soft and warm. Noah felt Irene's hand settle at her waist, not pulling, just resting there, present. The world didn't disappear. It sharpened. The scent of coffee, the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the steady certainty of being exactly where she was. When they parted, they stayed close, foreheads touching, eyes closed. "I'm still scared," Noah whispered. "Me too," Irene replied. "But I think that means we're paying attention." They didn't rush after that. The day unfolded gently. They made breakfast together, bumping hips, sharing small smiles. They sat on opposite ends of the couch at first, then closer, until Irene's head rested against Noah's shoulder without either of them acknowledging the moment it happened. In the afternoon, Noah found herself tracing the edge of her tattoo absent-mindedly. Irene noticed. "Does it still mean the same thing?" Irene asked. Noah thought about it. About trust. About how it felt less like a demand now and more like an offering. "It does," she said. "But it's changing." Irene smiled. "Good." Evening came, and with it the familiar quiet. They stood in the hallway together, light spilling softly around them, no longer a reminder of indecision but of connection. No doors closed this time. Later, when the apartment settled into night, they lay side by side on the couch, fully clothed, knees touching, hands intertwined loosely. Noah listened to Irene's breathing, slow and steady, and felt something unfamiliar but welcome take root. A sense of arrival without finality, of choice without erasure. The citrus scent lingered, softer now, woven into the fabric of the space. The apartment remembered them already. Some truths don't arrive all at once. They stay and ask to be lived into. What would it mean to choose what feels true even when certainty lags behind? If this story stayed with you, you're welcome to leave a part of your truth in the comments. And if stories like this, tender, intimate, and quietly brave, feel like home to you, you're welcome to stay with Secret Garden Stories. Thank you for being here.